This time around, I want to talk about something called the edge of chaos. You see, there's something quite interesting about motorsport. I don't know if you guys have ever glanced at motorsport a little bit, or maybe you've seen some of these Formula One racers, and you notice every single time when you hear the reports about who won, it always sounds like it's the same people. Even in Schumacher's time, you would always hear, oh, Schumacher won again, and it's Schumacher again, and you're thinking, why? Why is the top three? You know, you'd hear about Anderson, or maybe you'd hear about some of the guys who are quite big right now, always winning, and you'd wonder, why is it that the top 4 or 5 people always keep on sharing those spots regardless of where they started in the beginning of the race? Because the interesting thing is that these guys have the same type of engines. The sizes are the same normally in the engines, so the cars relatively move at the same speed. So what is it about them that makes them always stand out, that makes them always win almost in every single situation, even if they started at the back, even if they start at the front, whether it's raining, whether it's dry conditions? Why is it that there's this top 1% that always seem to have great results every single time? Well, this is something quite interesting. I learned that there was a study done, and they actually studied these guys to see what is it about them that makes them win all the time. What is it about them that makes them get the right results? And how can we maybe copy something from them so that we can create the right results even for us, no matter what we are dealing with? The interesting thing that came through in this study is when they studied the guys that are always winning, the top 10%, is that what they realize is that every single time when it gets to a bend, right, when especially when it comes to motorsport and these big type of bikes, when they have to go around the bend and the guys have to lean into a corner the way they are leaning in right now, this is like a really, really dangerous time where they could literally fall and everything could just go south. Literally, if they go a little too far down, the bike is just going to skid from underneath them and the race is over. A little bit too much, the race is over. Too little, and also something goes wrong. So it literally needs to be perfect every single time. But when people go around the bend like what is happening here, all the other racers slow down because they understand that this is a tough race. This is the dangerous corner. Let me slow down so I can take the corner a little bit better. It is almost like the reasonable thing to do to sometimes slow down. The top 1% though, instead of slowing down, it is in this moment where they accelerate. When they lean into that corner, they hit the acceleration even more and they go a little bit faster. So that by the time everyone comes out of the bend, they are leading the race with a bigger gap than before. You see, every single time that bend comes, they're going a little bit further ahead, a little bit further ahead. It is a dangerous thing to do sometimes. It is not a popular thing to do. It is sometimes the crazy thing to do, but it is something that makes them literally stand out as being the top 1 or top 10%. So what I'm saying is that they perform at the edge of chaos, and it is here at the moment where everyone else is slowing down, where they say, this is when I accelerate. And that is what makes the big difference overall. Right now, what is our chaos? In the country right now, in the world right now? Well, we got one of the biggest pandemics to hit the country, in fact, to hit the world in the last 10 years. In fact, almost in the last 100 years. It has never really been this type of significant slowdown, even in the economy, slowdown even in universities and the academic systems. Never have we had to wear masks the way we're wearing masks, and everything just slowed down in terms of the retrenchments and everything else that's going to happen. It is an easy time to take what the environment is telling you, to hear what you've been told, and to panic, to slow down in terms of how hard you're working, to slow down in terms of your goals, to slow down in terms of even the effort that you were putting into your school, because the schooling's environment is different. Now things are online and things are so different, and you're thinking, I guess everyone else is slowing down. Maybe I could slow down too, but I'm here to tell you That if you want to be at the top 1%, remember earlier we talked about commitment. And I'm saying that if you, and the absence to a commitment to being in the top 10% is an automatic opting for mediocrity. Now, I don't want to think that you are mediocre, or that you even want to commit towards mediocrity. I believe that you've been handpicked, and selected amongst thousands of people by the selectors and the recruiters at KPMG because you got something special. You are unique in some way, and that you have what it takes to be in the top 1%. But it needs to come from you, this commitment to saying, you know what, I am going to commit to being one of the best. Now, here's the truth. You cannot do anything about the seasons. Things in the world are going to change. Right now, for instance, we have so many things that are changing in our world. You cannot change the seasons. You have to learn, though, to take advantage of the seasons, because life changes like the seasons do. There's a season for rain. There's a season for cold weather. There's a season for harvesting. There's a season for growth. And you can't change the season, but you can change yourself. You see, you can't change how cold it is outside, but you can wear a jacket. That's how you are able to endure the seasons. Even when it's tough, you can't always do something about what's happening in the world, but you can definitely do something about what's happening inside you because of what's happening in the world. And what you need to do is you need to commit that you are going to make sure that, first of all, what's happening in the world is not going to govern how you change on the inside, in terms of now being less ambitious because you hear people say this or say that about the stats of the economy and about unemployment and all these things. Don't let these things slow you down. Instead, you need to be able to say, okay, so things are changing. We are going to adapt to the change. Look now, maybe we would have had this session like this in person, but the KPMG team decided to adapt to the change and say, well, since we can't have it in person, we will still have it. We will just change our approach, but we will not have something that is a beneficial thing, that it will motivate our people simply because of an environmental change. See, we can't change the seasons, but we can definitely change something about ourselves that can help us endure the storm and the seasons as well. So I say you need to gear up or gear down for success. What I mean is twofold. First of all, let's look at that picture on my right-hand side. So this is the picture with the road, that it looks like it has these changes. You know, it first goes downhill, then it goes suddenly uphill, a little bit downhill, uphill again. You know what? Life changes like this road right here. And what I'm saying by gearing up and gearing down is, if you've ever driven a manual car before, then you understand that sometimes along the road, things are going to change. It was nice and easy at some point. All of a sudden you face an uphill. What happens at the uphill if you don't do anything? Well, if you don't do anything, as soon as your car hits an uphill and it goes up for a very long time, the car starts to lose momentum. The car starts to slow down. In fact, it starts to become harder and harder for the car to maintain its momentum and keep pushing upwards. And if nothing changes, eventually the car can lose so much momentum it could stop, or maybe worse, even go backwards, or even damage some of the car components inside. Now, life is like your car. That's your life. And what you need to do is you need to be able to say, okay, when things change in my environment, when I see it starts now to go uphill, whereas it used to be going downhill, or at least used to be level, and now it's uphill, something's got to change. And where does that something have to change? It has to change inside you. You got to shift the gears. You got to gear up or gear down for success. What happens when we're driving? We realize that our environment has changed. Our road has changed. So what do? We go from gear number 5, or if you are successful and you've got a 7-speed car, from gear number 7, you want to go down a couple of gears. Sometimes you go down 1 gear. Sometimes you even go down 2 gears. Why? So you can regain power. You regain momentum so that you can go up that hill stronger. And of course, even though you're going to start slow, but you can start picking up momentum again. You can start picking up picking up momentum, picking up the drive, and you'll eventually get to where you're going, because you understand that you need to be adaptable. You need to be able to change. So I am saying that that's how the world works. It is in favor of people that are willing to keep on changing as times change. That's why I've got the picture of the sail as well there. The sailor cannot do anything about the wind. The wind is going to blow in the direction the wind is going to blow. And when the wind decides to change direction, it's going to change. Now you can decide if your life is going to be shipwrecked by everything that's going on around you, and you're going to allow winds to push you into the side of a island that you don't really want to be on. And you can decide if that's going to happen to you, because sometimes I know that you're facing more challenges than just how am I going to study. Sometimes you might be facing retrenchments. Maybe someone at home got retrenched through all of this COVID thing, and you're wondering about fees. You're wondering about accommodation. You might be wondering about electricity and rent and other things. And maybe you've got many different types of winds of change that are sometimes making it hard for you to stay on track. So what I'm saying is, we cannot affect the direction in which the wind is blowing it. But what we can do, what is in the sailor's power, is to change the direction of his sails so that he can take advantage of the wind to push him to go forward. You see, we live on the same or on opposite sides of the same coin. The coin is the excuses we make, and some of us live on the opposite sides of this. Let's say, for instance, someone says, I'm not where I want to be in life because I grew up poor. We didn't have what we needed at the time. I couldn't afford a university and an education and so on. And that is why I am where I am. Then you have Petrus Mutsipe, who says, I needed to be rich. I worked very, very hard because I grew up poor. Wow. Same excuse, different outcome. So I'm saying you have many reasons to say, I've got this wind that's pushing me in this direction. But you have every ability within you to change the sails so that the wind, even though it's pushing northwest, but you can still make sure that you go on directly north by just adjusting something in how you do things and how your success habits are pushing you towards the right direction. Now, here's something really exciting. And when you figure this out, I think it will be a mind-blowing thing for you too, and you can actually take this very, very far. But here's how it starts. I say, envision it like this. Imagine the mind is your land, right? Now, the mind actually is like a fertile land. Someone once said the mind is the last greatest unexplored continent in the world. It has land so fertile, riches beyond our wildest dreams. It can turn anything we plant in it into reality, or maybe return anything that we plant in it. And this was Earl Nightingale. You see, if we see the land if we see our mind like the land, and we're saying, okay, what are the seeds? Well, seeds are like good thoughts. When you plant good thoughts and you plant a good self-talk, and when you're talking to yourself, it's always positive, it's always upbuilding, and you believe good things for yourself, guess what? You will start to bring out, in terms of the fruit that you will start to see in your real life, the things that you think about most of the time. You got what you got because you did what you thought. So thoughts become actions, and actions become results. Some people say, yeah, your actions gave you results. No, but before the actions, there was the thoughts. So what I'm saying is that the thoughts are so important. What are people saying to you? You know that MIT did a study on the power of no. To say, if you are having a discussion to your friends about, let's say, passing the exams or achieving a certain dream or going after something that you thought was good and important to you, and someone had to say to you, nah, I don't think it happens to people like us. Or I don't think you, nah, I don't know. Hey, I don't know. Hey, that's normally what they say, right? I don't know. Hey. If they say that to you, it takes 16 other people to say, yes, you can do it. Oh, you should do it. You should do it. You should do it. To reverse the power that negative no had on you, for you to really believe in the same way that you believed before you heard that no. So I'm here asking, what are the relationships and the conversations that you are having with people doing to you? Are they propelling you forward, or are they slowing you down? Do you hear a lot of no's from people? Now let's take it even further. Do you talk to yourself sometimes? Everyone talks to themselves, right? I mean, it's normal to talk to yourself. But what do you say to yourself? Are your conversations with yourself positive, upbuilding? Are they motivational? Or are they normally filled with what you cannot do, your inadequacies, why you are not studying, why you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing when you're supposed to be doing? You so slow? You not? Are you mainly complaining to yourself with negative self-talk? Or do you upbuild yourself and positively talk to yourself and move yourself forward by pushing yourself towards the better version of yourself? So it's so important what you put into the land, because what you put into the land, which is the mind, with your thoughts, these seeds eventually become actions and then eventually bear fruit, and they become these results that we see in our world as well. So if you want certain things, you need to start thinking more of the things that you want most of the time, and your actions will eventually go along with your thoughts, which will eventually bring about the results that you want to see as well. So I'm now closer to the conclusion. Got about 2 slides left, and this is where I want to also just go back to those who are about to finish their studies and they're thinking about going into work pretty soon. So even when it comes to the company and you're thinking about remuneration and you're thinking how good it's going to get, remember, it's not what you get, but it's what you become. So ask from this job, don't ask, what am I getting from this job, but rather, what am I becoming? Because here's why it's important. In life, you don't get what you want. You get what you are. So if you want more, you need to become more. So if you're growing in self-efficacy, if you're growing in the right areas of life, you will start to gain more value. And by gaining more value, you'd be able to give more value. Because even at work, people are not going to be paying you for your time. They're going to be paying you for the value you bring to the company. So if you want to earn more, just increase your value, because you can't increase the time. You're only going to work 9 to 5 anyway, so you can't double the time to try and earn more money, but you can increase the value. You can definitely double the value. And by doing that, you will see yourself earning better as well. How do we increase the value? It starts now. It starts by not just wanting to pass, but by wanting to pass in an exceptional way that distinguishes you to say, wow, this person is really one of the top 10% in our field. These people are superior in how they do things. They're really trying their best to make sure that they stand out. It starts by you deciding not just to pass for the sake of good marks, but to remember the things that you study so that you can find ways that you can implement to problem solve at work in far amazing ways as well. I say that right now with everything that's going on, and this is the last slide, by the way, I say that with everything that's going on, you have 2 options. You could either be the lion or you could be the buck. What happens to the buck in the wild? It's nighttime. The buck is trying to eat its last bit of grass before the day ends, and now it hears a sound somewhere in the distance. It's frightened. It's always frightened. It eats, but eats apologetically. It's always worried about where the next calamity is going to come from. It's always wondering what the next big thing is going to be, the next scary thing. So it's always running away from something. So it's got this flight attitude towards the challenges and the hardships that come about. It is always just worried about the stats, the bad news, the headlines on TV. Did you hear more people are sick? Did you hear retrenchments, 22,000 by this other company? What about me? Oh no, should I even be studying? Should I even be trying? So that's the buck. Always worried, always a panic mechanic, if I can call it that way. Or you could be the lion. The lion, it takes calamity head on. The lion eats even in the wild, even at night. And when it hears a sound, when it hears something strange, when it hears frightening news, it actually goes and confronts the challenge head on. It goes into the darkness, into the bushes to investigate where that sound comes from, because it believes that it has earned its right to eat at this table. It is, after all, the king of the jungle. So you can decide now that, are you going to have this flight type of behavior where you are always worried about the things that are happening around you, or that you're going to calm down and summon your inner lion or your inner lioness and be the king of your world or the queen of your world, and just stand strong and be at the eye of the tornado and still be able to lead right there, still be able to work towards beating your best from right there. And you, of course, if you do that, I'm sure you can achieve greatness, and great things are definitely coming your way.